So hi guys, welcome to the EIS session. Before we begin with what EIS is and how we are going to go about, let us have a quick discussion on a couple of points that I expect from you. Those are, you can say right now, my expectations and also a request is what I can call them as. So going by that, all I want you guys to do is to stay very attentive throughout the classes, which is a little difficult task. That to being online, that sounds like a real challenge. That's the first thing that we have been facing for quite some time now. So uh, try and have that patience to kind of make sure that you listen to whatever I say, because that itself solves major part of your problem. You don't have to really be worried about what the content is later. And be regular. That's a very simple thing. You miss a class, you miss something. Now what is that something depends on our flow. Some days you could have just missed only a little bit, but some days you could have missed a lot. So when a class is there, make sure that you attend that so that you don't miss. Now beyond this, all I want you guys to tell is make sure that you have a pattern of revision, because end of the day, whatever we do, unless you revise and unless you understand what it is, it's not going to be of any help. Okay, so there is it should be a two-way communication is what I'm going to tell you. And because that's the best part of being live, right? Later whoever is watching this class on a recorded basis, no, they don't enjoy that advantage of talking to me live. Okay, they can, you guys can still reach out to me through obvious mechanisms are there. You can reach out to me, that's not an issue. So you can list down your doubts and then you can text me with them, or we always have mechanisms. But the idea of having live is to nothing better than being in a live class. So I hope that introduction suffices, nothing much. And a couple of things about me. um Harish Krishnan, chartered accountant. This is my 10th year into practice and also 10th year into teaching, and I've taught this subject for like so long now. So most of the students are kind of, I don't know why it is their very affectionate subject. Maybe because of the love that we have towards computers and systems and controls. But in today's fact, you cannot, I mean, like in today's world, you cannot deny the fact that you have to live and survive around computers. There are so many latest concepts that are coming in the likes of machine learning, in the likes of artificial intelligence, blockchain. So there are so many new concepts that have come into the market and everywhere. Now if you tell that I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a student of commerce, we have no relevance to all this, I think you are only putting yourself one step back. So these are the most updated concepts for the day. You need to try and be up to it. How does EIS help in that? By learning EIS as a 50 mark subject, will I be an expert of all that? Answer is no. But at least you will not be like blank every time you listen to something like that, because this subject is going to give you I don't say in depth, but a well defined knowledge. Because to go in depth there is a lot more content, but otherwise this gives you a very thorough idea of what the systems are, what actually is being used in the market right now, what are the controls that we are looking at, and how we can take this further. There are so many more nuances. And you should not be running away from small points, like just because you are some people simply tell me that we don't like. There is nothing to like or not like. End of the day, it's a 50 mark subject. Nobody is asking your eating preferences here, whether you like this or don't like this. We can always have such things with food that we eat. No, I don't like this, then don't eat. But here it's not like that. Whether you like it or not, it's part of your curriculum. Now see, don't study it with that force. Okay, it is there for 50 marks, so we have to study. Don't do that. Especially EIS and SM also. SM is even more lively and practical. But when it comes to EIS, it is to be thought after. Understand the purpose of what you're doing. I think that will always, what do you say? give you a reason. Daily you also come and sit in front of the device and listen to the class, and then you be like, why is all this there? It's not going to take you or me anywhere. Okay, so first of all, with this online class we have become so stationary. With a live class things would have been different, and like face to face things are more, I mean, nowhere different in terms of content or concept, but the environment, I'm saying, it's more lively, it's more and it's the behavior there is contagious. You see what somebody else is doing and you would also feel like doing it. Like sometimes when we are sitting in a face-to-face class, you get distracted and you see here and there, but when you see everybody listening to the class so seriously, you'll be like, what the hell am I doing? So let me also concentrate. But since the last 1 year, that has actually faded away, and vice versa it also happens. Like if somebody is joking in the class, somebody is seeing somewhere in the class, many people are disinterested, we also get carried away. So they're all there. I hope all of you agree with this, and let's make this journey a one to remember and count. That's what I'm trying to establish. Let us not keep it like you paid some money, so I'm going to deliver you some content, and let's end this. No, like kind of, let's break those barriers. We are definitely not going to sit in a physical class, that is the very clear, but I want this to be as good as what it can be. So if I can get a confirmation from your side in terms of, like, if you are okay with that and with all of what I said, then I'll give you a brief explanation as to what this subject is and its contents are, and then we can go on. Okay, I see people responding. Sharat, Ajay, very good. And this yes sir, no sir can continue for till we finish, because with time. Okay, yeah, Ravi, Thomas, very good. I don't like kind of want to read the I mean push you to say yes or no, please say it. I mean, that happens because we do understand sometimes you guys are staring at the screen for quite some time in a day, and then you are not always up to your high level. I agree, but since we can't now, like say if it was a face to face thing, I see your face, I can understand. Okay, the expression says it all, whether you understood or not. But here that facility is not there. Even if we activate that, say all of you switch on your cams and I see each, that's not going to practically happen, and it's practically not possible. And the reason like we have muted all of you is also because uh, of the surround noise. We don't know who is in what situation. So there are no hard and fast rules as such. If there is anything, I mean, like, I think I have allowed all participants to unmute whenever they can. I think I will do that. Otherwise, also, you can, if you are unable to type something and explain as a doubt, or if you want to ask something and you're unable to type it across, please make sure that you just unmute yourself and like bring in that point and let's discuss that, because that's also kind of important. If you think that you have a doubt that you don't want to ask during the class but want to ask end of the class, you can always inform me in the chat box saying that I have a doubt, and then once the class is over, whoever wants to exit will exit, and the ones who have the doubts can stay back. So basic protocols, guys. World has changed so much in the last 1 year, and yes, I will admit the fact that it's very hard to simply look at this camera here and keep on teaching, but that's what I'm doing for the last 1 year now. And somewhere before that also I used to do, like, I've been recording sessions since 2015, right from CA final level to foundation, everything. But there it was different because we know that we are talking to a camera, but now traditional education itself has become like this, is kind of very strange. I hope you guys must also be going through that gap somewhere or the other. But like I said, with your participation and with the push that we have, let's make it an exciting one, because nothing more like a group chat. Since all of us are on a group chat and I am pretty much on the video, we can still make this fun, and we will, don't worry about that. Okay, so I hope all of you are part of the Telegram group, and you guys have the material with you. Those of you who don't have the printed ones, I request you to get it at the earliest, because it's more sensible to do. We are going to be there for quite some time, and if you want to make sure that the attempt that you write will be the last time you will write an exam, then you need to follow certain protocols. Okay, we don't behave like school students anymore, right? We think that we are outgrown all that level. So what are you talking, sir? School and all? No, we are not like that. So no, there are so many things that we left back at school, which actually we shouldn't have, and those are things that are very important for a course like chartered accountancy. More likely discipline. A lot of times, we find as students of school, we were very motivated to do things. Like somebody gives you a homework, of course, with the growth in age, that interest also has come down. But otherwise, I remember there was a time when we come back home as a kid from school, we first go and do the homework. Like it's not to prove something, but like you want to be there and do it. There are days like that too, where despite knowing that we will be punished for not doing homeworks, we haven't done that at all. We have all evolved like that only. So all I'm saying is, in school we used to stick to some fundamentals, but as we grow up, we thought that those are all irrelevant. Like reading out loud, sometimes we think that that's not a very matured behavior to do anymore. Absolutely not. That's a technique. Anybody can use the technique. So now many people, they, when they find it difficult to read something, actually you should read it out loud. Thinking out loud is such a predominant concept in the world. Right now there are seminars on thinking out loud, and people pay thousands for that to go and just broaden your thought. So there are lots of small things that you have to learn apart from being a faculty of CA, final, inter, foundation, back then CPT and all that. I also do a lot of aptitude training, personality development, and I do all of that. And I have my own YouTube channel, which very recently kicked off to that, because it's there from quite some time, but only recently started being very active on that as well. So there are, so sometimes you will be getting these free tips on how to make yourself a better individual, and also how to improve your side of being a well disciplined student. So CA is not tough as such. With content and with our own hardships, we make it even more difficult. The content is so huge, and then we add up our own things to it and make it look even more difficult. So anyway, these are things that we can keep discussing in the due course of time. I don't want to kind of make it sound like a very general knowledge class in the beginning. So let's get to business. We talk about what enterprise information systems are. Now, I hope all of you know the fact that we live in a computerized world, which is exactly why you and I are in a class like this. So 1 year back, nobody even know what Zoom was, right? It was a small company doing this online service, just like Skype and all that, but much more advanced features than Skype was all this. It was part of business, and it used to be an entity. Now, the outbreak of the pandemic had given them an opportunity to raise leaps and bounds beyond. Now, all of you must be also knowing from the news that Zoom is a $1 billion organization. But along with all that news, I hope you guys have also heard about data security and data privacy issues. Did you? Yeah. The meetings in Zoom are not safe, whether they are or not. But did you guys hear about things like that? People saying that, Zoom is not safe. It's a platform of another country. Lot of data from here is going to the other country. Some people are always eavesdropping. You know what eavesdropping is? That's what many people do, right? When some others are talking, they put one ear there and listen. So eavesdropping is happening. If defense meetings or ministers of various cabinets of higher rank people meet and talk through Zoom, those meetings getting recorded and other things can be decoded by other countries. All this hue and cry, I hope you guys have seen the lots of other country apps that are being banned as a series of developments. Now there's a huge hue and cry going on Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, right? So that there are some lot of data privacy issues, and very soon, like many other countries, India may also be joining the list in banning those apps, because when there is nothing bigger than nations integrity, sovereignty. There are sections in the Information Technology Act which say that if there is any threat to the integrity and sovereignty of India, then there are respective actions that the government can take, and in the name of those only, the first list of 70 Chinese apps were banned. Now recently they released another 80 to 85 apps were banned, and one more list is yet to come very soon. And this time there may be some US apps also which may be banned, and there may be no wonder if in future the government goes and takes a huge step. I don't think they will, but the talks are going on. But they can even go ahead and ban Twitter or Facebook here because they're not agreeing to some of the norms. Sir, why are you telling us all this? Is it really relevant to us? Absolutely, because today our communications are electronic. You know, the CBDT, Central Board of Direct Taxes, is that relevant to us? Okay, for a minute, keep everything aside, saying that, you know, whatever I spoke till now is just an introduction of whatever information systems, and just like I spoke very generally. But let's get to business now. CBDT, Central Board of Direct Taxes, CBEC, Central Board of Excise and Customs, are these relevant to us? Ministry of Corporate Affairs, guys, are these relevant to us? Okay, so ICAI very much relevant to us. Fine. Now tell me, all these bodies in the recent times, what are their modes of communication? What are their modes of communication? Now I want a notification to be released. Right, Sharath, very good. But can you be more specific? Yeah, online. Correct, very good, guys. Online is, yeah, but be more specific on the app, or you can dig one step more deeper. Yes, Ravi, very good. Twitter. Chalo. Twitter is one of the most common mechanisms that are used by all these. Facebook also, nothing wrong. Twitter, but Twitter, the official handles of CBDT. I think recently all of you must have known that due to the outbreak of the pandemic, the deadlines for filing tax returns and all have been changed multiple number of times. Our finance minister, Mr. Sita Raman, she keeps coming and giving us out the news saying that we have deferred this, you can do this. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the ROC, comes up and says companies can take up. Where are they doing all this? Twitter, right? Official Twitter handle for each of these bodies are there, and through the official Twitter handle, they are giving us this information. Correct? All of you have seen, and then the screenshots of those Twitter handles are taken. They are circulated a lot in Facebook, Instagram, and in somebody else's tweets. Okay, all of this happened. Okay, yeah, very good, Shara. That's a very nice point. You can say the entire budget that was released on, like in the beginning of this month, that thoroughly was released through a digital mode. Now, sir, let them do whatever they want. No, what's your problem? I am a chartered accountant. I am going to be only bothered about accounts and taxes. Fair enough. Very good. You are going to be bothered only about accounts and taxes. Let's stick to that only. Let's say everything that you do in accounts at the end of it are compiled into financial statements. Should these financial statements be subject to audit? Now, Section 7 of the Information Technology Act permits that documents can be audited even though they are in electronic form. But sir, for that, first books should be in electronic form. Now, I believe all of you are students of law, and in our syllabus we have a bit of Companies Act which guide the companies. So the question is open to all. Can you tell me whether companies can maintain books in electronic form? Again, is it a little too much to expect from you to tell me the section number that allows you to do that? Yes, I mean, like, very good, Bhargavi, Thomas, nice. Yes, I got more than the replies that I expected, but was it a little too much to ask the section number? Anybody taking a chance on that? Okay, come on. Don't ask section numbers and all, so don't trouble us. Fair enough. Very good. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you guys have given the answer till now. Now, section 128, is of the books of accounts. Section 128 of the Companies Act is of the books of accounts. Now, I must bring it to your, I mean, I'm just what I say, it's already there in your memory, but I'm just trying to re-highlight that point. Says what? Books can be maintained in electronic form. They can be maintained either in India or servers that are located outside India. But a copy of the backup should be located in servers that are physically located in India. All these are points that I'm pretty sure you must have gone through in 128, but maybe you forgot. So I won't pressurize you. Tell me now, when the act itself says you can maintain an electronic form, and you now take up that role as a chartered accountant, whether to prepare financial statements. Now, there are a lot of chartered accountants who offer the facility to prepare books of accounts. Every chartered accountant is not only an auditor, no. The scope of chartered accountant is so wide nowadays that you can do multiple jobs. So, anyway, I think this evening completely, if we describe the only as the aspect, also this class won't be sufficient to tell what a chartered accountant can do. There are so many things that he can do, and all I'm saying is, in this electronic world, if you are left back not knowing how to operate these information systems or how organizations work, then you are putting yourself on a back foot. That's what I can tell you for now. But no, sir, we would definitely want to know what information systems are. Now, one more beauty of this syllabus is the word enterprise. See, they're talking only about enterprise information systems. They are not talking about anything and everything. They're just talking about what? Enterprise. That means our whole discussion is going to be restricted only to a particular organization and not for everybody. Okay. So keeping that in mind, let's try and understand what enterprise information is and what enterprise information systems are and how will they be useful to us in future. Also, how will they be useful to us now? Also, how will they be useful to us? We will see by taking some simple points here. First, let us try and understand this terminology called as enterprise. It's a very simple word, enterprise is nothing but a business organization. So we are not discussing how things will vary in your house or my house or to you or to me. So we're not discussing any personal stuff here, right? What we are discussing is very clear that it is going to pertain to a business organization. That is why the term enterprise. Then let's look at this next term called as information. Can anybody tell me what exactly is data? Before we discuss the word information, we'll talk about what is data. Anybody willing to take a guess? I'm not even asking you the answer exactly. The guess also will be fine. Okay, Trivikram, very good. Any more people taking a guess on what exactly is data? Data. Okay, Trivikram is right. Yeah, Achyut, that is also right. Very good. Simply, we can call them as raw facts. When you say raw facts, why are they using this term raw? Is because it's not organized. It is just available. That's all. So raw facts and figures. So data includes all the numbers, all the facts. It's just merely collection. It's a mere collection of facts. Very, very raw. But when this data undergoes something called as processing, okay, when this data undergoes something called as processing, which later down the line in the third chapter we will discuss, that is called as data processing, which will lead to information, which will lead to creation of what is called as information. Data and information are two very, very critical things that we need to understand, because many people think information is data, data is information. It can be, I will tell you how that changes its shape and color in different places later. But for now, all you need to know is these two are pretty different. Data is a very raw form of collection of facts, figures, numbers, everything, whatever. But when it comes to information, it's much more organized. It's given very neatly. And most importantly, information is something that is meaningful. Information is something that is meaningful to the user. Meaningful to user. If it's not meaningful to the user, then there is no way that we will, any of us will make anything out of that. So therefore, it's important that you understand anything that is meaningful to the user is information. So information is always defined in the context of the user, recipient. And then comes this word called system. Anybody taking a guess on what is the definition of system? I'm not, like, don't worry, I'm not going to judge you on what your answers are and all that. Let me make one point very clear here. Today, I don't really care whether you did this subject before, you didn't do this subject before. I'm not even going to bother any of that. I'm just going to start as if you know nothing, as if you know zero in this subject. So that's kind of something that I can do right now. And that is how we will keep it. So that anything that you answer to me, I will believe that, based on your understanding. Detailed process or procedures, is that what system is? Sharat says it's a detailed process or procedures. Okay, process, then procedures. See, I'm a very bad person when it comes to asking questions. If I ask a question and you give me some answer which provokes another question, then I will ask. Okay, so don't get irritated. I'm telling you in the first class itself. Whenever I'm answering, this fellow is asking one more question. So that is for our good only. So that, see, that chain will continue and somewhere it will end now where we will have no questions. That is where we have absolute clarity. So no, don't take it in a negative way, take it in a positive way. Okay, a lot of answers meanwhile. Rules and procedures. Okay, now you're using this word rules. Rules. Many devices working together. Okay, Rajeshwari, that's also sounding good. And a particular way to do something. Machines that analyze and record information. Is that only machines that analyze and record information? That is the system. Then why have you been calling fridge or a TV or a washing machine also as a system? They are also systems, right? Simple. If there are multiple number of components, just leave anything further. Multiple components. What are those components? Could be anything. Screws, nuts, bolts, bringing together of multiple components. Now, if you look at a vehicle, we have an engine, tires, body of the vehicle, and then so many allied parts brought together. Multiple components. There are multiple components. But what you need to remember is all these multiple components are working towards a common goal. So when multiple components work towards a common goal, that exactly is called as a system. And the common goal part is very important here. Understood? So if multiple items are working together, that's what we call it as a system. Now, let us elaborate the subject part. You saw what is enterprise separately. You saw what is information separately. You saw what is system separately. On their own, individually, let's sum this up, guys. Enterprise is a business entity, okay, or any entity, for profit, not for profit. Again, somebody will come and say, no, sir, they're not doing business, they're charitable organization. What about them? They are also enterprise. So, enterprise is anybody involved in doing a charitable, non charitable, but business, right? State of being busy, that's what business is. So, it's an entity. Two is information. We know the difference between data and information. Three is a system, which is multiple components working together to achieve a common purpose or a goal. That is what system is all about. Are you clear with all these three terms individually? If you are clear with all these three terms individually, then we will pick up the next discussion, wherein we will first try and bring these two words together. Now, if this is information and system, what do you think will be an information system? Anybody taking a guess? Just take a guess. What is an information system? You know what is system. You know what is information and where it comes from. Can you coin a definition for this term called information system? Yes. What do you think will be an information system? I'll give you a minute there. Come on. Again, taking a while, yes, would be fine. Okay, but taking input from other sources to process using components and receive the output. Okay, that's a pretty textbook definition. Very good. That's nice. That's what every system does, including the human body, which is the biggest example of a system. Take the input, process it, give the output. You know what I mean, right? So everybody, including a human being, follows the process of IPO: input, process, and output. There are no two ways of thinking on that. That's absolutely correct. Even a computer does so. Now, all those systems that are involved in converting this data, whatever we have, into meaningful information. Yes, Ajay, very good. Raw facts, which will now be made meaningful to the users. And the best part about this in today's scenario is, if these information systems have the ability to transfer data thanks to a concept called as networks. Much of discussion about networks are not there in your book, just a couple of paragraphs are there, which I believe is sufficient, because all of you are using wired and wireless networks. So all of us have an understanding as to what networks are, and we are using cellular networks, that is the 4G. Roads are made for 5G already, so very soon India can see a launch of 5G, hopefully in 2021 itself, maybe by end of this year, if everything goes right. For Reliance Jio will be the one to launch 5G this year. We are hoping for that, but I don't know. That's just a speculation. I'm not really sure. I have no idea what the truth is. But yes, from the company itself, I've heard. It's not like, I mean, Mr. Mukesh Ambani himself told in one of the press conferences. So they are making all efforts to launch 5G in India. So imagine, already we have high speed data at a cheap cost, and imagine 5G making roads in India. So that'll be the, of course, it's already there in other parts of the developed world. So nothing like, it's not like first time somebody is seeing 5G. So but it will be good. That's what I'm saying. So networks are there, and using these networks, we can transfer data from one place to the other. And where we are using those systems to convert data into information, which ultimately is meaningful for the recipient, that is what will be called as a information system, a device that is capable of all this. Sir, don't talk so much, keep it in very simple language. Okay, computers. Happy? I'm not talking so much, I'm keeping it very simple. Computers are the other name for these information system devices that process. Now here there is a debate that can crop up if you simply say computers, because that itself is a very doubtful word. The moment I say computers, don't visualize a CPU, monitor, keyboard, not that traditional desktop setup only as a computer. The desktop is a computer, laptop is a computer, tab is a computer, the phone that you have right now in your hand, that is also a computer. Any device that is capable of computing, okay, so that is a computer. Don't always be in the traditional mindset saying that whatever you see as the computer is only the CPU and all that. No, that's not what a computer is. A computer is anything capable of doing this action that I told you here. So information processing devices, information systems, all are synonyms of the word computers, and generally the whole concept of IT, information technology, is nothing but all about use of computers. Okay. Now, again, sir, there are a lot of computers that can be used for a personal application. No, yes, there are a lot of computers that we can use for personal application. That's why we are not talking much about them. Sir, then what are we talking about? Yeah, we are going to talk about those devices that we use in an enterprise. Those devices that are going to be used in an enterprise so that our life can be made easy. In an enterprise, there are lots of data requirements. As I just told you, data requirements don't arise only because of internal needs. Data requirements arise even because of statutory needs. Government is saying at the end of every financial year, you got to file the financial statements, or they're saying you get them audited. From where do you think we'll do all this? Making sure that we deal with information systems, we maintain books of accounts, we do whatever we are supposed to do, and then finally produce the output to the respective authorities. It is all there in your book. It will come probably in the second chapter of our syllabus, wherein we are only talking about financial and accounting systems. There I will discuss it with you in little more detail. Okay. So yes, that's our first part of a broad overview as to what enterprise information and systems are, what information system is, and how it is used in the enterprise. Are you guys clear about this? Okay. Okay, that's nice. Perfect. Very good. Right. If you are going ahead and saying that, then it's like a assurance here on my side, and then a feedback from you like that will always be good to know, because I also know that you are listening, and that keeps us going in the class. Fair enough. So your syllabus down here in EIS is classified into 5 chapters, and it's for 50 marks, right? Yes, a 50 marks paper, so you will get the question paper for roughly around 57 or 58 marks. Wherein in this 50 marks, the great part is that you have 15 marks of MCQs which you can score. Okay. Now comes the big question. Sir, how should I prepare for MCQs? What material do you suggest that we should follow for MCQs? How many MCQs should I solve? What is the best way to get the full marks in MCQs? Lot of questions, right? My answer is very simple. Don't do anything. Okay, don't do anything exclusive. It's not required. That's not how MCQs are built up. Okay, the secret of scoring marks in MCQs lies with the concept. Now, if you focus on the concept, if you focus on gathering things well, and if you focus on understanding every concept, I am pretty sure you will get all the marks that you need. So, do I have to solve 100 MCQs at least before going to the exam? Not required. Sir, can exam be the first place where I solve an MCQ? No, it should not be that also. We will practice, but we will practice at a stage where we are very thorough with the concept. It's not like choosing ABCD is your job here. No, you need to understand the concept. Those who understood the concept will never think twice about dealing with all this. Okay, so there is, in any subject, I'm telling you, this is not only for ES. In any subject, there is no need for an exclusive preparation of this. What do you say? MCQs. That's not needed. Don't pressurize yourself by doing unnecessary things. Okay, so that's something that I wanted to tell you in the beginning here. So you got to make sure that you take that point very clearly in your mind. Okay, so let us proceed further on that note. we have 5 chapters only, so all chapters questions will come. First one is called as automated business process. Okay, I think there is automated business process. Okay, then 2, finance and accounting systems. The third chapter is a very long and elaborate chapter on all of your information system concepts. The 3 parts of this chapter: information system concepts. We have the information system components, that is what our information system made up of: components, then controls, and then audit. So the 3 parts to this story. Actually, it's a very interesting chapter. Only thing, you need to have patience to try and understand all that clearly, otherwise a very easy topic. Then we have chapter 4, which is about e-commerce. Chapter 4 will be very scoring for you because they are very latest trending concepts, things that you have heard so many times. So e-commerce, digital payments. Okay, e-commerce, digital payments, and most importantly, some of the emerging technologies. All these are part of the 4th chapter. And then comes the 5th and the last chapter, called as core banking systems. Core banking systems, nothing but a software used exclusively in banks. I remember as a child going along with my mother to the bank and standing in the queue for a long time only to deposit or withdraw cash, that too small amount. So if we want 500 rupees, back then 500 was a big amount. Let's say if you want to withdraw 500 rupees, you go there, you submit a check leaf, and then they'll give you a token. You wait in the queue, then your turn will come. They'll call you. You got to pick up that money and come. Now, forget about going to ATMs to withdraw. Is anybody even taking cash and going anywhere? Okay. Even for a small cup of tea or coffee that's costing you 6 rupees, believe me, 6 rupees. People are, opening their mobile phone, scanning the QR code and paying from their bank account, right? If you pull off somebody's bank statement, UPI payments of 6 rupees and 10 rupees that they make for the smallest to the small purchases are also reflecting the bank statement. So imagine how far we have come. Okay, I'm going to start the 5th chapter with the same example again, but core banking system softwares have made it possible for us to do that. And best part, it's not like, as I told you, my mother used to drag me and rush me to the bank. We'll be like, now the bank will get closed. Come now, 24/7. You can, all you need is your smartphone. That's all. So if you are having the device, and if you have you should have money in the bank account. That's the most basic criteria. So if you have money in the bank account right now, spending is not an issue at all. There are multiple modes of spending. Okay. So these are the 5 chapters which worth 50 marks. Now, what I want you to listen carefully here is chapter 1, 2, and 4. They are relatively smaller in size. 4th one is not smaller in size, but at least the first 2 part, they're easy in terms of the understanding part. So be strong or very strong in chapter 1, 2, and 4. Now, so does it mean we can ignore chapter 3? No, you will never hear that from me in any context. And don't later come back and ask me what are important questions, sir. Mark a few things for the exam. Don't ask me all that. I will not even care to respond to such things. If I know what are important, I will teach you only those, no? So take it from me from the first class itself. Whatever I teach is important. I'm going to end up teaching the whole book. So that will all be important. So don't go for such shortcuts. There are no shortcuts here. Components, controls, audit, 3 parts. Components are very easy part. Now the problem with controls is there are too many controls. It takes a little bit of effort to simplify this and understand. I will simplify it for you. Okay. What you need to do is to pay a little more attention after that to revise and understand the flow as to what comes where. Once you are able to do that, the topic won't be difficult. Audit again has only 2 or 3 important questions, so we will take care of that at that right moment. Okay. Now here in emerging technologies, lot of emerging technologies are there: virtualization, grid computing, cloud computing, mobile computing, green computing, bringing own devices to work, machine learning, artificial intelligence, internet of things. Roughly around 10 concepts are there, and questions will definitely come from those. So we will pay all attention and learn them. Once you learn and understand, they are all easy. Then comes core banking system. Now 50% of the core banking system chapter is very simple to understand and very easy. The other 50% no is more procedural. I'm not saying it's difficult, leave it. No, that's not what I'm saying. Don't decode in whatever language you want. I'm telling 50% of the chapter is straight, easily understandable. The other 50% needs a little effort here. Okay. So, sir, will you not suggest us to leave anything? No, I am not that person. So, if you are thinking that we can leave this topic is going to come from this guy, they are there. Few topics are there. I will tell you. Just it's like you are wasting time on trying to do something that's not very productive. So in the third chapter towards the end, fifth chapter some concepts. I'm not saying we'll leave and ignore them. I will do my duty of explaining. But when it comes to revising, you can dedicate the least amount of time for them because they don't add any value. But for that, if you are thorough with the other chapters, I don't see any problem in answering any sort of a question paper. While others may call a paper extremely hard, you might be ending up calling that paper as, or you will be wondering as to what is so extremely hard in this paper. That can be the level of confidence that I can build in you by the time we finish the syllabus. That I can guarantee because that's what I've been doing for all these years, as I told you. So don't worry about the syllabus. Don't worry about the way or the content that has to be delivered. That will be taken care. Like I said, what you need to do is have an effective revision pattern. At least dedicate a few minutes of time after the class is over. It can range from as small as 15 minutes to 30 to 45 minutes as the syllabus progresses. Run through once, not just listening to the class, but running through once, because every session is scheduled for 2 hours, right? The time limit. Of course, the whole 2 hours we will not be able to utilize. So there'll be a small break in between. Don't worry. All that will be taken care of. Nothing to worry. So considering all that, there is a limited amount of content going to be done in every class. And you know that. After that class is over, before the next class, make sure that you just go through and revise. Now, sir, every person will tell this in their first class, and this is an option for us. If we like, we will follow. If we don't like, we will not follow. If you are doing that, I can't do the policing job here. Who revised? Who didn't revise? Who did? I don't want to be that person asking you questions and poking you in each one of your thing. I don't want to do that. But having said that, I always want you to understand that there is a defined way of doing something, which is what I'm telling you. So go in that direction and make sure. So let us proceed with the first chapter. And what I want to tell you here is these chapters already include all the amendments related to May 2021. So nothing to worry or nothing to study exclusively. This material has every set of change that has been made to the EAS material. Now, if you have prior materials, then you can leave all that and follow this one. And if you have any friends who are not attending but who want to know only the amendments, I will soon be releasing a video on YouTube which have only the amendments compared to the past. Okay, but this material is thoroughly updated, whatever material is there in front of you. So you need not procure any amendment material or anything extra. You can straight away go with what it is. Okay, so this is the first chapter which talks about automated business processes in an organization where already some business processes are there, that is some businesses are listed down. How will those organizations fare well by automating a business process? Is it good to automate? If they are automating, what will be their benefit? All these are some of the points that we have to look into this, and we will see slowly as to how an organization will do the automation. Let's talk about the pros and cons of everything. Before that, I would want to discuss with you as to what an enterprise information system is, because before we split up, we did talk on that discussion. So, what is an EIS? It may be defined as EIS may be defined as any kind of information system. It is what? Any kind of information system which involves the functions of an enterprise business by integration. So by integration is whatever we are actually seeing there in terms of individual aspects. When brought together, when individual aspects are brought together, that is only called as integration. So an enterprise information system is any kind of a system which brings together all of these. EIS provide a technology platform. What do they provide? They provide a technology platform that enables organizations to integrate and coordinate their business on a robust foundation. Those of you who don't know the meaning of this word robust, you can write down there. Robust means strong. Robust is nothing but strong. NEIS provides a single system, underline single system. Instead of having multiple systems, we'll have a single system. NEIS provides a single system that is central to the organization, which ensures that information can be shared across all levels, that is functional levels, right from the operational level to the strategic level where ultimate decisions are made. Information can be shared from everywhere. That is the meaning. Okay, it may be used to amalgamate, is bring together existing applications. Sometimes it so happens that we may be using individual applications in individual places. To bring all of that together also, we can use the concept of EIS. How? We will see a little later in the chapter. And by doing all that, will we have benefits? Definitely we will have benefits, and because we will have benefits only, we are doing this, right? NEIS can be used to increase business productivity. NEIS can be used to increase business productivity and reduce service cycles, product development cycles, marketing life cycles. And don't worry about any of that, because we will see each one of them being discussed in the later parts of different chapters. NEIS can be used to increase business productivity and reduce service cycles. Other outcomes include higher operational efficiency and cost savings. How does it help in saving cost? How does it bring higher efficiency? All these are also points that we will see slowly. For example, when a customer places an order, now check out this example, very simple one to understand. For example, when a customer places an order, the data flow automatically to other fractions of the company. Data flow where? To other fractions of the company, means other parts of the company that are being affected by them, leading to enhanced coordination. Enhanced is increased coordination between these different parts of the business, which turn into lower cost and increase customer satisfaction. Again, how? That also there is a detailed explanation. We will see. Wherever I am telling, don't worry, we will see. It is a separate concept in the later half of your book. So nothing to worry. Just try and understand that EIS is a broad aspect of bringing few things together. That is, in an enterprise, we are trying to increase productivity reduce the cost. How will you reduce the cost? By automating certain aspects. Sir, are there any benefits of automation? Yes. And a newly introduced concept is also there called threats of automation. We will see all that in clear detail now. NEAS, as you see here, the 4 points you can see, which will in turn lower cost and increase customer satisfaction. The order transaction triggers the warehouse to pick up the ordered products and schedule the shipment. The warehouse will inform the factory to replenish, means to replace whatever has been depleted. Accounts department will be notified to send the invoice, and debtors department will keep track of payments. Can all this be automated? Yes. So what are the other things that they can use to do all this automation? Now, though not in this chapter, but in the next chapter, we will see one of the most commonly used automated tools is called as ERP. What is it called? ERP. Enterprise Resource Planning software. ERP is a software that is nothing but one software for the entire organization. One software meant for the entire organization. So if the entire organization is doing something, this is what we will be calling it as. So don't worry, we will again as a separate discussion see that part. Now, before we speak about automating a process, we need to know what are the processes in business, right? From the reading that you have, from strategic management or based on what you learned in foundation, do you know that every business can be broken down into various processes? You know that various business can be broken down into several sub processes. Did you read that anywhere? I mean, like, do you have the idea of reading such things before? That the entire business can be broken down into various processes. Yes, Ravi, very good. Have we read that before, guys? Have you come across these terms in the past? Vision, mission, objectives, goals. Very good. And then based on all this in every organization, we have categorization of processes. We have what? Categorization of processes. Anybody helping me out with categorization of process? How many levels are there in every organization? Levels. Anybody? 3 levels. Oh, fantastic. Lot of people. Which are the 3 levels? Okay. Please. Don't do this anymore. You're all students of management. Rajeshwari, Trivikram. No. Don't do that anymore. Top, middle, and lower. You are not wrong. Hold on, everybody. You are not wrong. Okay. But that's a very, very crude way of saying it. That is not how we. Top, middle, and bottom is a. What do you say? Like a BCom student says that, or somebody who's not into management says that, I can understand. But you guys shouldn't say that. Okay. Sir, are we wrong? No. Once again, I'm clarifying. You guys are not wrong, but you need to be more informative. Yes, Ravi, that's very good. Operational level, business level, and strategic level. Yes, ma Pushpa, you're also right, but you said only one, but fine. Okay. Yes, operational, business, and strategic level. Now, when you say strategic level, these are guys at the top. These are the ones who make big decisions. Like this is Mukesh Ambani and team. Okay, strategic decision makers for somebody like Reliance. Okay, but they might not be involved in day-to-day operations. Who's involved in day-to-day operations? This is the operational level. Operation level consists of who? Finance team, marketing team, HR. You know, all these are there, right? Finance, marketing, HR, production, inventory management. All these are operational level, wherein day in and day out work will happen day to day. See, what top people do is something that keeps the organization going for a foreseeable future. You know, this going concern stuff, right? So like that, what they do, that will keep the organization going for a foreseeable future. Operational level people will do things on a daily basis. But what you should understand is there needs to be something between both these which will act as a bridge. Yes, very good, Pushpa. That's right. Managers. That is why the second level in between here is called business level, which is also called as middle level or managerial level. Why is it called managerial level? Because managers are there in this level. Correct, Ma Pushpa. Fantastic. So I hope all of you know this. And at each level we have processes. It is not like we have processes only at one level. At all levels we have processes. Now, if I ask you a simple question, which I believe everybody will be easily answering, is automation required at all levels? Come on, I have a series of questions for you, which are very simple in the form of yes or no only. Is automation required at all levels? Okay, that's nice. Very good, Pranati. Very good, Ravi. So yes, all automation is required at all levels. Now, let me ask you one more question. Be a little more critical in answering this one. Is it compulsory to do automation? Is automation compulsory? It's optional, ma. Okay, she says it's optional. Others are saying no. Malab, you're saying it's not compulsory. Which means to say that businesses can survive without automation also. That's what you're trying to say. You are saying that businesses today can survive. Pushpa saying, but not in current scenario. Okay, don't compare in today's context only. But generally, can we do a business without automation? Yes, there are lots of businesses around us which are operating absolutely without any kind of automation. So first and foremost thing that you need to realize is there is no rule that automation has to be done like this only. There is no rule. Okay, but should we do automation? Will it help us in something? Yeah, definitely there is something that you should do, and I will give you that overview right after we discuss this diagram. Okay, let us go back and quickly have a sneak peek onto this diagram. Very good, all of you giving answers and participating. I am highly appreciative of that fact, and we have to keep continuing to do that. Your participation will be the ultimate key, because see, end of the day you are the one who are writing the exam. So the more attentive and participative you are, the more interesting the session is going to get. There are lots of interesting topics. It's only like the way that we are going to look forward on those. So all of you know these terms: vision, strategy, business management. If not, also with the other 50 marks are there for us, we will learn there. What is a business process? A business process is an activity or set of activities. What is it? Is either an activity or set of activities that will accomplish a specific organizational goal. It will accomplish a specific organizational goal. Business process management, or rather you say BPM, is a systematic approach to improve these process. Because first time when we put up a process, there is no rule that that will be a successful process. Time and again when you keep doing things, it will change. And with your learning is counted as the experience. So with your learning, you have to constantly keep making changes so that you will evolve one of the best process. Sir, this is the best process. Nobody can tell that on day one. It will go on with time. Okay, so that is how you will create and understand these process. Operational process, management and support process, two broad classifications. So if you see who will do all the vision business management part, top level. Middle management is there to support HR, IT, finance, okay, legal, relationship management. All these are middle level management. On top, we have the operational management, where we have to develop something called as cross functional linkages. I don't want to overburden you in the very first session. That is why I am not discussing things in such great depth because we have an opportunity to discuss all that in greater detail in respective topics. So today only we should hurry. There is no rule like that. So that is why. But just remember this term cross-functional. Anybody who can tell me what is cross-functional just by the name? What do you mean by cross-functional? Just take a guess based on the name. What do you think is cross-functional? Okay, mixed up or not mixed up as such, interrelating, very good, that's right, support each other, one process depends on the other, very good, very good. Right, cross functional is where there is a link between one to one. For example, let's say marketing and finance. Unless you don't have, I mean, like, unless you have money, you can't go for marketing. Same way, production, marketing. What they produced and what you marketed should be the same product. Same way, R&D and production, like this, where there are interlinkages. Or in other words, you can also say where the output of one department is the input of another department. All these things are only called as cross functional, and with time you will see what is more into this story of cross functionality. We will see there and we will understand one by one. Okay, perfect. So I hope everybody has understood this picture, just to understand what is EIS and what are the various levels in the organization. Then something that you told me some time back is the categorization of business process, operational process, support process, and managerial process. So there is nothing much to discuss out there. We will just have a quick read of what are these process. If you have any doubts, you can obviously ask me on this. Order operational process, day to day purchase, sales, all those. In other words, they're called primary process. Operational or primary process deal with core business and value chain. I don't know if you guys are aware of what is called as Michael Porter's value chain analysis. If you are a first timer, definitely you will not be aware. So nothing to worry. But if you've already done strategic management or done the subject, value chain, there is a concept by name of value chain analysis, wherein it says that at every stage in business, some value gets added to that product. Okay, how, what, we will see. But for now, these process ultimately deliver value to the customer by helping to produce a product or service. So either you will help you produce a product or deliver a service. Operational processes represent essential business activities that accomplish business objectives. So generating revenue, what you should do to generate revenue? Sales. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is the sales process, right from receiving a customer order to fulfilling that customer order by taking care of the order fulfillment, delivery of goods, then invoicing the customer, collecting the money from customer, and not just collecting but accounting that, purchases, sales, okay, sales returns, purchase returns, all these day-to-day operations, they are all called as operational process. But to do all these operational process, we need strongly to have a team which is called as a human resource team, HR. Now these are all called what? Support process. Support processes are core processes and functions within an organization. So what's the difference? I'll tell you. One key differentiator between operational and support processor is that support process do not provide value to customers directly. No, please don't mistake that they do not produce value only. They provide value, not directly. Okay. One key differentiator between operational and support processes is that support process do not provide value to customers directly. However, there is a definition for staffing, putting the right person in the right place, hiring the right people for right job has a direct impact on the efficiency of the enterprise, like HR. So if somebody comes and questions you, which process is important? Is it operational process or support process? It's like asking, is your left eye important or right eye important? So these two processes are like the two eyes or the two legs, and you need both to make a proper. And then you need a brain to guide. Now, if both my legs are ready to walk, in which direction should I walk and how should I walk? There should be a point, right? That my brain will guide. That brain is the top management who will measure, monitor, and control. Please underline these three keywords: measure, monitor, and control. Management process: measure, monitor, and control activities related to business procedures and systems. Like supporting process, management process do not provide value directly to the customers. So there is only one process that provides value to customers directly, which is called as the operational process. You have another name for that, guys. If you are also, one more thing that I want to tell you is maintain a summary notes next to you. I told you to have the printout of this material that is anyway there, that is useful for reading, but make a summary notes. Don't sit and waste time somewhere else, in trying to find out other summaries and all. Don't do that. A handwritten summary of yours, there is no substitute for that. Okay, so make sure that you make a summary. Now that you can do during the revision time after the class, or while doing the class itself, you want to make a summary, you can definitely do that, but don't miss the fundamental concept. Focus on the concept and then you can make anything. Now, sometimes there are some things that I put up here on the whiteboard, so you can note down that also, like that. And any definitions, synonyms, like some people, like I said, don't know cross functional, you can better write down in your book, so like that. Why did I tell you all that? Is to tell you this particular point here, which says, which is the only process that has direct linkage to the customers? The operational process. So the operational process also has another name, operational process. Anybody taking a guess? Okay, that will be a very wide question to ask. But still, if somebody's guessed it right, let us see how amazing that would be. Primary process, yes, ma. Primary is correct. No, that is primary and support process, two broad classifications. Alright, if that is there in the book, then why will I tell you to write? Some extra knowledge for you. Okay, because the operational process is the only process where the people working in this process serve the customers directly, and that is why it is called as front end process. Okay, now many places you would have heard this term front end, back office, or back end. Now this back office or back end people, you will never see them. Why will you never see them? It's because not like they don't exist, they don't deal with customers directly. In a bank, for example, when you go to a bank, cashier, relationship manager, whoever is sitting there, they're all called front end people because they directly deal. But for the bank's servers to work properly, but for the bank to maintain all the data properly, there are a lot of people. When you apply for a loan in a bank, you give it to an executive. He will not do the entire process. No, he'll only collect all the documents and give it to somebody. They're all called back end or support team. So front end is a name that you generally come across for these operational process. So that's an extra or a new learning for today. You can say operational process. Okay, please make a note of things like this. Yes. No, channels of distribution are the next level. Yes, these are people. Channels of distribution are how you make your product reach ultimately to the customer. That's called a distribution channel. We will come across that, not exactly here, but in management, definitely there is a discussion on distribution channel. But ultimately, what we're trying to say is there should be some path between you and the end customer. This person is not a distribution channel alone, they are a part of the channel, no doubt. Okay, understood, ma? Everybody, I want you to read that example there because it's very simple. Vision and mission. They gave you examples of what a vision and mission would be. What is a vision? I want to become one of Asia's largest dairy product companies. I decided back in 2005 to increase the turnover by 2 times in the next 10 years. Present turnover is 10,000 crores. They want to make it 20,000 crores. That's an example of a long range idea, vision and mission. Then some of the examples of management processes are the top management. So they're giving a description of how a vision will be, how a management process will be, and how a support process will be, how operational process will be. These are all examples. They won't come in exam. If they come, it's just like bonus marks. So just try and read this to understand. So what is the management process? The top management sat down and listed activities to be done to achieve the set turnover, like they enter into new markets. Uh, Entering in new markets is called diversification. We will read all this in strategic management, but launching new products, entering into new markets, okay, and acquire existing companies, all these are different forms of mergers and acquisitions. They are all management process. Support process, as we just discussed, are mostly HR process. For all activities to be done, envisioned by the top means whatever top people have a mind on, their thoughts on. Envision means thinking on. A huge effort will be needed by the HR. If they think in their mind, it won't happen. No, somebody has to do it in the organization. So that somebody is the HR. Each person in the organization will be given job roles, deciding or defining and creating a new management structure, performing all human resource activities. They're all called support process. And finally, we have operational process. Post the management process, it is on the operational managers to implement the decisions in actual working form. So operational level people are the ones who actually do it. Okay, so you can say we haven't done anything much in terms of a real uh, chapter wise content and all that. So we just have a brief introduction, but it's very important that we have this introduction to understand the three terms: enterprise, information and systems, and then also to understand the three levels in the organization, the different types of process in the organization. And all of you have already answered that very important question, that is automation compulsory? No. But in today's scenario, automation is of a high importance. Okay. So the core topic of this first chapter is called automated business process, which we will see and start in tomorrow's class and go in a more detailed manner. Okay.